Welcome everyone. It is 3 p.m. and it's time for a server room show. This is episode 48. Today I will talk about alternatives to Google Analytics. I want to say that I'm back on the Mac Mini streaming wise because I probably will mention it in the episode I will do about Linux audio or Linux audio digital audio workstations. That I'm probably it's something with my computer that there is a lot of things going on in it, but the recording I did and the stream I did last Saturday with the Linux workstation, I had some strange humming in certain parts of the audio I recorded on the microphone track, and while I could remove that with plugins and stuff, it's not something I previously experienced or experience on the Mac side, and because I have another podcast which I record on directly on the Mac, and it definitely it's something which only appeared on the Linux side. So just to be safe and try to keep the audio as clean as possible, as clean as possible. I came back to the Mac, streaming and recording wise, as long as I figure out what's causing it in the Linux workstation, or perhaps I just need to pick up another small form factor or tiny, this typical Lenovo tiny desktops, and purposely convert it to a AV Linux workstation. Perhaps that would work. I mean, if anyone has any idea how the best way to do it, then please let me know. I still don't know about the audience. I only know that there is a black cat, one of my all-time listener, Ben, who always sitting by the live stream, but I don't know anything about the rest of you guys or girls or whoever you might be. Some people are downloading the episodes and listens to it for sure, but I have absolutely no clue who, when, and how, because no one ever got in touch with me. So I wasted already 2 minutes, and I know that Paul really hates that. Actually, he was the one who told me in the very beginning that from 30 minutes of show you waste nearly 4 minutes on introduction and telling the intro part. So I'm not doing that anymore. Thanks to Paul. So between Paul, a black cat, and those 2 or 3 people I know who listen, let's continue with Google Analytics, today's topic. So what is Google Analytics? Google Analytics is a web analytics service offered by Google that tracks and reports website traffic. Currently, as a platform inside the Google Marketing Platform brand, Google launched this service in November 2005 after acquiring Urchin. As of 2019, Google Analytics is the most widely used web analytics service on the web. Google Analytics provides an SDK that allows gathering usage data from iOS and Android devices applications, known as Google Analytics for mobile apps. Google Analytics can be, however, blocked by browsers, by browser extensions, firewalls, and by other means. So it just means that maybe there are more to your traffic than you think, because some people blocks extensions, blocks many things with extensions in their computer. Some people block JavaScripts to run on websites completely, and many of these tracking web analytics and tracking code, most of it works using JavaScript. So if people block this, then their traffic will not be reported. So maybe you see you had 60 visits to your websites, but maybe actually it was already 70. So Google Analytics is used to track website activity, such as session duration, pages per session, bounce rate, and so on, of individuals using the site, along with the information on the source of the traffic. It can be integrated with Google Ads, with which users can create and review online campaigns by tracking landing page quality and conversions, also known as goals. Goals might include sales, lead generation, viewing a specific page, or downloading a particular file. Google Analytics approach is to show high-level dashboard type data for the casual user and more in-depth data further into the report set. Google Analytics analysis can identify poorly performing pages with techniques such as funnel visualization, where visitors came from, referees, how long they stayed on the website, and their geographical position. It also provides more advanced features, including custom visitor segmentation. Google Analytics e-commerce reporting can track sales activity and performance. The e-commerce report shows a site's transactions, revenue, and many other commerce-related metrics. On September 29th, 2011, Google Analytics launched real-time analytics, enabling a user to have insight about visitors currently on the site. A user can have 100 site profiles. Each profile generally corresponds to one website. It is limited to sites which have traffic of fewer than 5 million page views per month, which would be roughly around 2 page views per second, unless the site is linked to Google Ads campaign. Google Analytics include Google Website Optimizer, rebranded as Google Analytics Content Experiments. Google Analytics cohort analysis helps in understanding the behavior of component groups of users apart from your user population. It is beneficial to marketers and analysts for successful implementation of a marketing strategy. Funny fact, which I remember personally, that in some early website I made back in the 90s somewhere, maybe late 90s or early 90s, I remember it was so popular, these website counters on the bottom of the website, and it was like just a number, like a counter in HTML, put inside in the HTML code, and I used one of these. I digged around for it, and I just remember how great moment it was, or smiling it was when you saw that number growing or increasing. However, it was a very simple thing with a simple web page refresh. The number the counter was going up, and it's funny because the word came a long way from just a simple counter, which you couldn't really rely if you wanted to be honest how many people visited your page. The word came to really real trends onto a full arsenal of different analytics tools which can help you make good business decisions regarding your audience, not just the size, but identify trends and who these people are and where they are coming from, your audience or your visitors. Oh, and I also replaced the background music, so if you really miss the spaceship outer space effect, let me know. This background music is completely royalty free, so I'm not gonna have any problems for using this one. If you look at my screen, you can see a screenshot of the Google Analytics page, the opening page regarding the show's website. You can see that it's very modest traffic and user counts it has, but I must say it's not as bad as I expected, taking into account that cats cannot really browse the internet without their humans, so I'm sure there are more cats out there listening to this show. They're just not showing up in Google Analytics. So why we need metrics like the ones we just described? It can be said that a successful website is built in equal parts great content and a solid understanding of your audience. While your content may be first class, if you don't know where your traffic is coming from and the topics your audience is interested in, which is very important, you are missing half of the formula. Google Analytics enables you to find answers to these questions by analyzing your website traffic. That way you can improve your site based on your visitors' actions. There are actually many books out there about Google Analytics itself and its every bit of feature, and I suggest if you seriously interested in the topic, you should check out some of the books mentioned in the show notes. So let's look at open source alternatives to Google Analytics. There is one pretty much number one a tool called used to be called Pivik, and it rebranded itself to Matomo. I honestly don't understand the rebrandings that you thought one name was not working and then you choose an equally similar one, at least to my ears, Pivik or Matomo. None of them rings any familiarity to analytic tools, but they must know better. However, the tool itself is good. Matomo does most of what Google Analytics does, and actually chances are it offers the features that you need. Those features include metrics on the number of visitors hitting your site, data on where they came from, both on the web and geographically, the pages from which they leave, and the ability to track search engine referrals. Matomo also offers many reports, and you can customize the dashboard to view the metrics that you want to see. To make your life easier, Matomo integrates with more than 65 content management, e-commerce and online forum systems from the likes of WordPress, Magneto, Joomla, vBulletin with the help of plugins. For any others, you can simply just add the tracking code to the page onto your site. You can host this yourself, which is always a plus in my book. Anything you can self-host is awesome for me. But you can also test drive it on Matomo's website. Have a look how it feels, and if you decide to install it, it's relatively easy to do. It has very few requirements. You need a database backend in the form of MySQL or MariaDB, web server like Nginx or Apache, and PHP. For the tracking part, you can, if you are not lucky to go with the plugins of those 65 integrations or through plugins Matomo offers to content management and e-commerce and online forum systems, then you can just paste the aforementioned JavaScript based tracking code into your page's header part, and off you go. If your site receives a couple of hundred visitors per day, definitely my website is not in that category. But if yours is, then you are advised to set up auto archiving in a form of a cron task, so it helps Matomo to calculate your reports periodically. So when the cron is set up and the timeout value increased, Matomo dashboard will load very quickly, as the reports will be pre-processed already by the core archive command triggered by cron. So you don't need to sit and wait until the reports are getting generated, because you make sure that because of the busier website or the heavier traffic, you periodically rerunning the report creation by a cron job. Strange, but if it works, it works. If you do not set up the cron, Matomo will recalculate your statistics every time you visit Matomo report, which will slow Matomo down and increase the load on your database. You can see a screenshot of Matomo on my screen. It looks nice. I'm not saying it's good. Next tool is Open Web Analytics, we could say that a close second to Matomo in the open source web analytics stakes. In fact, it includes key features that either rival Google Analytics, leave it in the dust, so to say. In addition to the usual raft of analytics and reporting functions, Open Web Analytics tracks where on a page and on what element visitors click, providing kind of like heat maps that show where on the page visitors interact the most, and even does e-commerce tracking. It's a pretty interesting feature if useful for you. As the show's website is pretty static, all it has is a simple menu up on the top. In my case, that it wouldn't be much heat map or in useful to be used. Open Web Analytics has a WordPress plugin. I know many people love and use WordPress. I think it's good for certain applications, but for other things, personally, I prefer for like static web pages like the one of the shows. I prefer these HTML5 ones or some things in the likes of using like an engine like Bootstrap, I think it's called. I think in my case, for example, in that website or the website I use for my CV, as the content is pretty much static, I don't need to push out content or post, so to say, every now and then. And even if I do, I update it manually because it's just 3 things I have to update. I think in the case of these pages, it would be an overkill to install WordPress with a database backend and such. So that's why I shoot for a static web page, kind of static web page without WordPress and stuff when I can. So, but if you use, then you can use Open Web Analytics with this WordPress plugin, and can integrate with MediaWiki also using a plugin. MediaWiki is also a good engine. Or you can add again the snippet of JavaScript or PHP code to your web pages to enable the tracking. You can give this a try, Open Web Analytics, on their website to see if it's good for you. Again, a screenshot of Open Web Analytics on my screen. It looks again pretty decent. However, my expectations might not be as high as yours, or my expectations could be much lower than yours. Maybe I said the same thing. AW Stats would be the third one. It's a little bit coming at this on a different angle, because web server log files provides a rich vein of information about visitors to your site, but tapping into that vein isn't always easy, so that's where AW Stats comes to the rescue. While it lacks the modern look and feel, AW Stats more than makes up for the breadth of data it can present. That information includes the number of unique visitors, how long those visitors stay on the site, the operating system and web browsers they use, the size of a visitor's screen, and the search engines and the search terms people use to find your site. AW Stats can also tell you the number of times your site is bookmarked, track the pages where visitors enter and exit your sites, and keep a tally of the most popular pages on your site. These features only scratch, however, the surface of AW Stats capabilities. It also works with FTP and email logs, as well as syslog files. AW Stats can give you a deep insight into what's happening on your website using the data that stays under your control. And yeah, if you look at my screen, you can see that it's less modern looking than the previous ones, but it taps into those sources of rich information directly in the logs of web server logs or FTP email or syslog, depending on the system you you tell AWS Stats to track. Countly is another one. It calls itself Secure Web Analytics Platform. It's presenting data about your site and its visitors, and it does a pretty solid job of it. It's heavily targeting marketing organizations. Countly tracks data that it's important to marketeers, as per they say. This information includes site visitors, transactions, as well as which campaigns and sources led visitors to your site. You can also create metrics that are specific to your business. Countly doesn't forego basic web analytics. It also keeps track of the number of visitors on your site, where they are from, which pages they visited, and more. You can again use a hosted version of Countly, or you can just grab the source from GitHub and self-host the application. And there are differences between the hosted and self-hosted versions of Countly. You can read about it on their website, but as long as you can self-host, even if it's a bit different, I think it's definitely, for me at least, it's definitely a plus. And if you look at it, it looks pretty nice. Plausible would be another one in this open source analytics tools block. It's lean, it's fast, and only collects a small amount of information. That includes numbers of unique visitors and the top pages they visited, the number of page views, the bounce rate, and referrers. Plausible is simple and very focused. Sometimes you don't need tons of metrics, you just need a couple of important ones. And what sets Plausible apart from its competitors is its heavy focus on privacy. The project creators state that the tool doesn't collect or store any information about visitors to your website, which is particularly attractive if privacy is important to you. And you can read more about it on their website. They also have a demo instance that you can check out, and you can either again self-host, +1 for that for Plausible, or you can sign up for a paid and hosted account. The screenshot I took of Plausible is not very, maybe I didn't take the best screenshot. It doesn't look bad, definitely. I will give it a try and have a look at it. There are some closed source alternatives I want to mention without running out of time. Woopra is one of them. It does have a free tier. It's cloud-based, so no self-hosting option as much as I saw. It defines something as actions per month. An action is an event tracked in Woopra, such as a page view, download, property changes, and any custom action you might configure. Also, every time a property is changed, for example, a user updated their email address or joins a segment, it will be listed as an action in the customer profile and counted towards your action quota. So if you're able to figure out, reading a bit about what an action counts, then you can get an idea if a free tier would be available, enough, better say, enough for you or not in the case of your website. And why I say that it's very important, because after the free tier, the next tier is 999 euros per month. Okay, they say it allows 5 million actions and a lot of pro features, but a jump from free to 999 a month, it's a very big jump. I'm surprised they didn't include anything in between, and as I said, it's only cloud based. I'm sure that for both of my little websites I run, 500k actions per month would be more than enough, so I might check them out. But the moment you guys make me rich and famous, I will have to shell out 1,000 euros per month, because I will need at least 5 million actions per month to track websites. No, I'm just joking. There is another one which reminds me of cats. The brand is called Fox Metrics. I really just put it here because it looks very good. You can see it on my screen, and it's called Fox, like the fox. Even has the tail in the logo. +1 for Fox Metric. that they offer free plans for startups and minority-owned, I guess, companies. They don't say the educational sector and non-profits. Actually, I signed up and I sent them an email. What about me, who runs a podcast for free? Maybe I count. I also mentioned the stat counter, also again with a free tier to analyze the latest 500 page views, which I think it's nice, and it's even after that they have affordable tiers to analyze more. For example, to analyze the latest 100,000 page views, it only costs you like €7 a month, so no 999 euros a month. And it looks pretty decent for €7 a month if you go that way. Clicky would be another closed source alternative. I didn't really take any note on it. I just took a screenshot. Shame on me. It looks quite good. And in the last 4 minutes we came to exactly where I wanted to be, that why we look for alternatives to Google Analytics and why I personally look at metrics myself. It is good to have alternatives for everything in life. We would say it's mostly true. Some things just don't need an alternative. Stick to the real thing. Don't change up. Change is not always good. Different look, more metrics, new or previously untapped data, or visually more pleasing dashboards, or simply another interpretation of the same pile of information. Another look or a fresh view, even on the same, can help interpret trends, making the best possible decision when it comes to your content and the audience. Can help you see if what you are trying to implement or introduce is well received, or perhaps making them furrow their eyebrows, or moving their whiskers in a strange ways when you mean about cats. I mentioned cats many times in this episode. There is a reason for it, because I love cats. The more and perhaps most versatile view or angles you have on the same can help you be better than your competitors and stir your business forward, which will make them think you have some seventh sense or a magic crystal ball. To use my example, for me, metrics which are important to me, again, are the ones which tell me as much as possible of the visitors to my website, of the podcast show website. Where they come from, what device they use, how long they stay, and which pages they spend time on. From those heavy 3 or 4 they can choose, and which pages they exit from. Are their traffic direct? Perhaps use specific keywords in Google to find me, or they come from social channels where I tend to run ads to promote my show with heavy 3, 4, 5 euros ad campaigns, so I make them really rich in Mastodon, Twitter, in Instagram, Pinterest, stuff like that. All these metrics collected together with the listening statistics I get from podcast platforms help me to see a couple of things. Sorry, I moved my screen. As I host my show, shows and material in English, it's important to me to see if my audience and most of the visits and the number of reproduction of the podcast I get is indeed in the correct target for me. So imagine I'm doing it in English and I'm very successful in a country where English is not even an officially spoken language, then something probably I'm doing wrong. Another thing which is very important is the devices they use to visit the website from, desktop or mobile, because then I need to make sure that it scales properly and make sure that the experience is great. The sources of traffic help me understand that if I spend a lot of money on campaigning in social platforms, but all my traffic comes directly from other referral channels or people directly coming to my site, then why I'm throwing away my money. So if you look at all these metrics, they can help you see where you have to be better, or what you're doing it good or you're doing it bad. Maybe you need to spend your money elsewhere, or put emphasis on something else, market it in another way. And with 15 seconds on the clock, I finished, and I'm proud of myself because I reached the end of the show notes, and it's not always a case. Sometimes, most of the time, I have more than I can bear. See you next Saturday.